venting, gossip, and you. This week on Happy Hour. Welcome back to Happy Hour. I'm Rick.
And I'm Holly.
And we are podcasting here in Knoxville, Tennessee for our young adults in our community or communities beyond. And we have now been podcasting, I believe this is actually episode 27.
Look at all that content we've
Right?
Ooh.
Some good, some other. I'm the other, Holly's the good. So it works out really well. What's crazy about that is we've been podcasting each week. So this is now officially over half a year.
Really?
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Think about that for a second. That's pretty wild.
I never thought that I would be here. So
yay. Happy semi-anniversary to our podcast. Woohoo! This is great.
Half birthday.
Our half birthday. Do people celebrate half birthdays? Is that really a thing?
I think people just say it.
Yeah.
Like, today's my half birthday. But that's not even common.
I know.
Typically.
I almost feel like when people do that, they just need attention.
Yeah. There's a Snapchat filter. That's all I know. And sometimes people will do that.
There is a Snapchat filter for half birthday?
I've seen it.
Oh.
So I don't know if it recognizes that, you were born and then it just calculates.
Is Snapchat still a thing?
It is. But it's more for, I don't know, it's like the new texting.
Okay.
So most people use it just to
say hi real quick.
Yeah. Daily communication.
Yeah. I don't think I've opened my Snapchat in a year. Maybe more.
I don't really look at it. I never really use it anymore.
No. I think my go-to now, and again, I got to be honest, I love technology. I love all that, but social media is not my jam. It is for like promoting events and even the podcast and stuff like that. Like no problem. I got it. But when I am relaxing or when I'm about my day, I actually don't open up social media all that often. Only if I'm going to, post something for work or whatever it is. But typically I just don't go in but I was very opposite that. Like Snapchat was big, huge thing. Gosh, of course, Facebook when back in the day when it was, the thing.
It was kicking.
Yeah. It was kind of really the only thing. But even before that, MySpace.
Oh, I never had that. That's foreign to me.
Well, that's so like early 2000s type of thing. So that's understandable. And today on our podcast, we get to talk about something I'm really excited to talk about, right?
Me too.
This is a topic that I think we neglect quite a bit. We might not even think about, really.
I feel like most people don't even think about it because we've become so numb, I think, to just the concept of it.
Absolutely. And of course, we're talking about gossip or venting.
So which is which?
Oh, yeah. And is there a difference? Mm-hmm. And if there is, how do we know? I think about these things and I always have my own thoughts. I'm not saying they're always the right thoughts, but I always have my own thoughts. And I was kind of going through maybe different points we could talk about. And I was like, well, hold on, let's wait a minute. Let's maybe go to the professionals. And I found some professionals that talk about this. Ooh. Ready?
Okay.
I went to a website that I thought, okay, who could be really professional about talking about this? Well, the Praying Woman.
The Praying Woman
is my go-to.
For blogs? Is it a blog?
It is, I believe they have a bunch of different topics, devotionals, Bible studies, different things that you can become a part of. But they do put out some, maybe a little bit of blogging. And this particular one by Maya Ralston talks about 4 signs that you're venting versus gossiping. And I really liked it because it's like short and to the point, and a couple of them are reiterated, but they're a little bit different. I just liked the fullness of it rather than it's just one thing and done. It really brings about some other questions we're going to talk about.
Perfect.
Yeah. But
I need this definitely.
Oh my gosh. and we're going to talk about how we can actually apply this into our lives too. Like what are some best practices for breaking the habit of gossip. But before we do that, I would like to acknowledge our sponsor for the day.
And that is?
Oh, our sponsor provided all of our music that you hear, all of our sound effects. And you say, but Rick, we haven't really heard any sound effects. And I would say, well, yeah, it's true. Maybe I don't use all the sound effects and everything, but every once in a while, I like to give ourselves a round of applause. Thank you. Yes. That's one from our sponsor. Yes, thank you very much. Other sound effects might be when I tell a joke and it hits wrong. That seems about right when I do a dad joke, or it's that. It's one of those two. But also our theme music, which we had an alternate theme song. This is all from a site called Good Story, right, where it allows you to tell good stories and everything. Now, they're not an official sponsor, so whatever. But there was an optional different intro song for Happy Hour. And it seems really weird to even hear it because there were two that we were considering. And of course, probably everybody knows our intro song, which is, a little bit of that, right? And I'll dial that down because you all know it. But the alternate was a little bit more, I don't know, chill.
I think it's like upbeat.
Upbeat more chill?
Upbeat
is
chill.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. But that's what I think.
I'm going to say it was. Do you want to hear a clip?
I want to hear it.
This was the optional, very close second intro and outro to Happy Hour. Here we go. It's called the Ukulele Song. I feel like it's story time.
Yeah, it is like story time.
Right? Hey kids, today's story.
Or Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, absolutely. So that was the alternate one, and ultimately we settled on what we now know as our intro outro song, which I'm happy with. But there's a little backstory for all those listeners that I'm sure we're never wondering.
So we have 2 plugs for today.
We do have a couple of plugs. Yes, absolutely. So, want to dive in?
Yes, let's do it.
So, Holly, I think so. We had we have a Google Doc of different topics that we want to cover, and we actually have. Well, I don't think we've even done half of the topics, which is crazy. Because sometimes we'll think of different topics and go with them instead of what's on our list, which is great. But this particular one, I think you wrote down, and you didn't even remember writing it down, so it's even better. But it really speaks to something that's going on. Like, why do you feel like we need to talk about this?
I feel like we need to talk about it, like I said before, because it's something that flies under the radar because we don't acknowledge it every day. With gossiping, we usually use an alibi or something to mask it. In some way, like, oh, I'm just sharing, or, oh, no, like, I'm just trying to help them. Like, are you really, like, what's your intention?
Yeah.
With what your words are, like, what are you actually trying to say about them?
Exactly.
And is it helpful?
There we go. So, you're like nailing all these points that you don't even know you're nailing. No, it's good. It's good. Intention's a huge portion of it. Outcomes, all these different things. So again, this is from The Praying Woman.
Okay.
And we're going to have some scripture at the end to back all of this up to make sure that we're not just kind of pulling something out of thin air. But there's a real need to discern gossip versus venting. Venting is actually really good.
It can be.
It can be. If it's venting.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's not an obsession with venting, right? Because there is a difference there too. If all you do is vent.
Or overshare. Overshares.
Overshares too, yes. Yeah,
that can lead into overshare.
So let's talk about these different points. There's 4 different points. The first one is socially insular, right? So let's talk about that. So gossip, really, the definition they're using is when you complain or you talk about one person to someone who knows both of you. Okay. If you complain, they give a couple for instances. So if you complain about your brother, if you complain to your brother about your mother, you're gossiping. If you complain to your coworker about your boss, gossip. Then they say venting, on the other hand, is when you talk to someone who the third party doesn't know. This takes your listener out of the equation rather than spreading information and opinions that can be used. You are just getting your feelings off your chest. That's what venting is. You're really just getting your feelings off your chest. You're able to kind of gossip, on the other hand, is a much more malicious because everyone involved is connected.
Ooh.
Right?
Okay.
Like let's break that down for a second. So you're at work, or maybe in your instance, it'd be like the sorority house. I'm sure that probably doesn't happen there, but we're just going to use it as a for instance.
Oh, it definitely does, especially right now. Yes.
Oh, especially right now.
Some elections going on, so it's always there's it's a tense time.
Yeah.
Because we all know each other.
Okay.
We're all friends. We're all sisters.
Yeah.
So it's difficult, to like try to navigate that and like talking with people because everyone's running for positions. Some might be the same.
Right.
And you don't want to step on toes. You don't want to hurt feelings. But obviously we all end up talking about it in our rooms.
Of course.
So sometimes it's not the best thing. Like if it's venting and you're having like, an issue internally, trying to decide like, oh, what do I want to do? Or what do I want to run for? That and talking to your roommate about it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's when you start talking about other candidates for a position that can cause a lot of tension, especially if it leaks out. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course we're going to get to intentions in our second one, which is great because that really, to me, if we just stopped for a second before we said something and thought about our intention of what we're about to say, like what's the desired outcome here? Why are we sharing this? And we'll get to that. But I really like this idea of if you truly want to vent, you're probably not going to talk to people that are in the situation because there's a natural divide there, right? It's almost like we're forming tribes. Like if I'm going to talk to this person, it's now you're on my tribe and we're talking about that person and their tribe. It almost gets to that feel when you involve people that are already involved. Now, of course, talking things out is a great thing, right? Like you should talk things out with people. That's really good. It's more so when you're doing it behind their back and there's no intention of solving something, right? That we'll get to.
Yeah.
But right now it's more of, well, maybe when I have to get these feelings off my chest that I don't like so much, maybe I should consult somebody that isn't familiar with the situation.
That's a very good tip.
That's actually really good.
That helps me.
Like think about it. Like if you were then to just call your mom.
Right.
Right. And moms make everything better. Yes. Sometimes. And sometimes they make them worse. But like in these cases where you're really frustrated with somebody or some situation, and like in your case, you're in a sorority house. That's like, ooh, who do I have to go off campus? Well, how about I call, right? Like I'll call somebody else that's not in the situation, and I just want to share my feelings about this situation. Maybe we're not necessarily looking in that second for a resolution, but maybe this is burning me up inside. I got to get this off my chest. But if I do that with somebody that's in the situation, that can be a real problem. That can cause way more issues, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So our first one talks about like socially, like how is this determined? Like who are you speaking with? Venting tends to be more, well, I'm not talking about somebody in my immediate circle of friends with somebody in my, in my immediate circle of friends or whatever. It's kind of going out of that. So the second one is malicious intent. This is a biggie to me. This might be the biggest one. This is my biggest one, I think. So venting is ultimately about the person doing the venting. Now just think about that for a second, right? When you vent, it's ultimately about you.
Yep.
Okay. You have some concerns, thoughts, negative feelings on your mind, and you need to get them off your mind. By talking about them, you clear the air. And a lot of times you actually realize that it's really not that bad and you kind of move on. Yeah. Right? Gossip, on the other hand, it's all about the victim.
Who you're talking about.
People don't gossip to make other people feel better, but rather to make themselves feel better. Right? Gossip makes the victim feel worse by turning people against them or otherwise changing their opinions of them. So gossip is a way more malicious intent than venting, right? What do you think about that one?
That one, yeah, that makes me, I'm like reevaluating. Rick's probably looking in my eyes. I'm like thinking like in my mind right now, just like, I'm like, okay, so what did I say the other day?
Right.
Like, about this person, But I feel like sort of going along with the first topic, that having a third party is probably the best option in general. And because if you're relating it to yourself and your feelings, it's more likely to be venting.
Right.
If you're talking about someone else, sort of like 2 second parties almost, it's more gossip. Like, did you hear what she said about this person? That's more like not a first person issue. Exactly. So I'm thinking of it in like literature perspective, like first person, second person, third person. Yeah. And if it's more about like first person perspective, that's your feelings. Second person, that's them. And you're talking about them as a person and changing someone else's mind about that. So I don't know. Wow.
I know.
It's sort of deep. I'm trying to think about how to like.
It's when we start thinking though about how venting is ultimately there to help you move past this. It's to help a situation, right? It might just be as simple as I just need to say this, get it off my chest. And again, like I said, a lot of times when we do this, we'll probably realize, I guess it's not that big of a deal. We let it go, right? We talked about it. We had that need to talk about it and it's gone. Great. And if we do that with somebody that's not in the immediate circle, then it doesn't have negative repercussions to it.
Yeah. And no one's going to hear, unless you're on the phone and somebody overhears you, or something about your venting and somebody misinterprets it.
Or you make a video and put it on social media about it. That never happens, right? So I love this kind of 1-2 punch here. It's like, all right, listen, you want some good practical advice? You're frustrated about the situation. You want to vent about it? Use I terms. Use me. Use the words I and me. I felt real bad today when I heard something directed towards me, whatever that was. Boom, boom, boom. And you're talking about it with somebody who's not in the situation. That's a great 1-2 punch rather than something happens in your circle of friends. So you pull one of your friends aside and say, did you just hear what that person said? Boom, boom, boom. Now all of a sudden the intent is let's get them. Right. I mean, ultimately, like if we're thinking about gossip, a lot of times it ends up with let's get them. You might not like literally say that, but really with our intention, that's what we're doing. I feel
like if you really dig deep within yourself, is like, what's your goal for this person? Are you trying to help them or are you trying to hurt them? Yeah.
And are you trying to help the situation or are you just trying to hurt somebody?
Right. And that can also be hard to discern.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just equating it to like sort of what I was talking about with elections and stuff. There's a board, slate. It's basically the electoral college of sorority. Yes. So we all vote for these people that are going to pick other members of our chapter for certain positions. Okay. So they're like the electoral college. And they have to debate and they have to choose and they have to just talk about people and their strengths and weaknesses. It would be like any job interview.
Of course.
With a boss or a manager who's interviewing. And and they all have to put their input and deliberate about these people. And it's not like they're gossiping about these people. Right. They're truly trying to just help people get to where they need to be according to their strengths. Yes. So there's like a difference between like, that's like a helpful example. Yep. You're trying to help a situation.
On both ends, really. Yes. Like you're trying to get the best and you're trying to help them do their best. Correct. Right. It's almost like a job evaluation, really, too. Like not even just an interview, but an evaluation. We've known you for a little while now. Right. And here's what we see as your strengths and here's what we see as your weaknesses. And let's try to help those weaknesses and congratulate you on your strengths and reward you for those strengths. Right. So in that way, no, that's not gossip. That literally is talking with the people about their stuff. Yeah. You're helping the situation. But this idea of really gossip, it really exists for its own sake.
Not for,
there's no benefit.
No.
Right? And that kind of brings us into the point of number 3, where venting and solutions. Right? So that's a real big key. Venting is about getting to the bottom of a problem and solving it. Right? So when you're venting, so maybe it is just as simple as like, I need to talk about this and get this off my chest. Problem? Talking about somebody outside the circle? Solution. You got it off your chest. You're good to go. Rock on. But it might also be like, I need to talk about this because I need a way of dealing with it. And we're going to move forward from this. And here's our steps. And this is what we're going to do, right? Talks about by telling someone you let it out and you open your problem up to possible solutions. So venting is that you're not just being closed off and just being angry about it, like just holding on to that anger. You're actually saying, you know what? I'm angry about this situation and I want to open that up to a resolution.
Right. Because if you hold on to that anger, it's going to come out in other ways that are not productive.
And maybe not just to that person.
And to others.
Or that group.
A lot more people. So you have to deal with it. You have to consult yourself and your problems and try to find out a solution.
Exactly. It goes on to say that the person you are talking to may suggest something, or the act of talking it out may help you come up with something. So that's good. Now let's talk about gossip on the other hand. Gossip on the other hand exists for its own sake. Like we said, people who gossip aren't trying to solve other people's problems, but rather are just talking about them because they are interesting.
That can happen. It's a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Some people just open up conversations with like, did you hear this? Did you hear that? So, and they're trying to fill space.
Yes.
They're trying to fill all that little empty, silent space in your little friend group circle.
Yep.
If it gets awkward, they'll just start talking about something that they know that's interesting because everyone else in that circle will find them interesting.
Yep.
Because it's a curiosity. You're hinging on that curiosity that everyone has towards other people.
It's true. I think we all think of ourselves as like different news stations. We want to be the ones to break the news.
That's very true.
Something happens, we want to be the ones that have all that info, and we want to be the ones that everybody's listening to, right? Like, you think about that for a second.
That's a really great analogy. News stations.
Yeah, I've often thought about that. It's every one of them. They fight to break that big story, but we do it too.
Oh, I do. I've done it before. Yeah.
Of course, we've all done. Everybody listening knows they've done it. Like, they want to be that one. So that's where that walking that fine line of, well, okay, hold on. That's just gossip for gossip's sake, right? There's no benefit there, which does bring us to the last point, which is self versus other, right? Venting focuses on you. We've talked about that a little bit. If you're venting about something, you're not complaining about its existence. Rather, you're complaining about how it makes you feel. Right? Like, think about that for a second.
Yeah, that's true.
Gossip, however, is about other people. People who gossip often gossip about issues they have no opinion on whatsoever. Different scenarios I'm sure you can think of, but you don't have any legitimate feeling to vent about. You're venting about the situation.
Not about your feelings.
You're not involved in it even. You're like, how is that even personally affecting you? Right? So if you're telling people things that don't directly affect you or cause you to feel a certain way, you're gossiping. You're not venting, right? Like, again, the venting 100% should deal with you and your feelings and what you're trying to work through. And so if you hear, oh my gosh, did you hear about that situation?
That's a situation that's not with you.
Yeah.
Doesn't apply.
How is that venting? That's not venting. That's gossiping.
Right. And I can feel that. I feel that some people might twist it and be like, oh, it really does apply to me, and I'm going to justify it to myself.
Sure.
So you have to also dissect that. Sure. Which is a little facet, like offshoots from that. But
think about even like political stuff, you know? Oh my gosh, did you hear this about this person? I mean, gossip is so ingrained into our North American culture. It's ridiculous. It's hard to separate yourself from it. You know, so what do? Do you just close yourself off in a room and not talk to anybody and not associate with anybody? Is that how we solve gossip? I don't believe so.
No.
Right? I don't believe so. I think there is an innate want to be recognized as somebody valid and somebody that's heard.
Yes.
Okay. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it can't be at somebody else's expense.
No.
Right? Like, there's a big difference there. So we might have maybe a tip or two about how to start applying this in your life. I had a nice conversation today with a young adult who had mentioned that her friend gave up gossip for Lent.
I might have to adopt that one.
Ooh, I like that a lot because that gives you a solid 40 days. And I know we were talking about earlier about how to break a bad habit, like how long does it take? And there's studies out 21 days, it takes 30 days, it takes whatever. 40 days, I feel like you can get a grasp on things in 40 days. Right?
I feel like you would start ingraining something new within you or transforming.
Yeah. I would hope so.
You. Yeah.
Right by then. So 40 days. If you gave gossip up for Lent, here's what who I was talking to had mentioned that all of a sudden it really became personal. It was like in those moments they were like, wait, are we gossiping right now? Like it was so at the forefront of their mind because it was what they gave up for Lent. They were like, oh wait, are we gossiping? Let's think about this for a second. And it held them accountable, which is wonderful. That's what we should. But maybe some people don't want to wait for Lent to do it. Advent's right around the corner.
We could do it for Advent season. Yeah.
It's coming. It's at the end of this month, right? So
before Christmas, get into the Christmas kind spirit.
Exactly.
You know?
Like the whole meaning, the purpose of Christmas was the Savior coming to save us, coming to help us, not to hurt us. And so what does gossip do? It does not save us. It only hurts. It's anti-Christian to gossip. Yes, you just heard that.
And we hurt Jesus too.
Exactly. It is anti-Christian to gossip. Yet it's something that we don't give enough attention to. Maybe another tip that we could really talk about is in those moments when you're ready to talk to your friends and you're about to spill the tea.
You
like that?
The lingo.
The lingo.
The young folks.
Got to use the lingo of the young folks. So spilling the tea would be like talking about what's up, like what's going on, what's happening, gossip on someone. So when you're about to do that with your friend, just ask, is this hurtful or is it helpful? Right? It's simple. Is this hurtful or helpful? And so if it's not helping you go through, like, normalize your feelings and work through a process, then guess what? Probably shouldn't say it's probably hurtful. It's probably gossip. So I think maybe just even being a little more aware of what we're about to say. But we do also have some scripture that talks about this to help you out, don't we, Holly?
Yes. And also going along really quick with that is like, so in the event that like you do have this situation on your mind and for some reason it's like stirring within you, it's not related to you. Like, how do you deal with that? Then like, if you can't gossip about it, so how do you deal with that? I don't know. I write. So that's a really great way. If like something's really on your mind and you need to just process it, just write it out on your phone, short note. Maybe that will just like get it off of your mind onto paper and then you can delete it. I physically sometimes write things and then I'm like, okay, I'm done with this, delete. And that's like a physical way that I just like somehow like sort of process it and get it out of my mind.
Do you know how many drafts I have in my email box?
Oh, no. Yes, you have to wait 24 hours before you send something if you're in a mood or if you're angry about something.
I need to write a response right now. Tap, 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 tap. Save to draft.
Oh, yeah. We are not going to send that out.
No.
Yes, but that's something that I've found helpful in the past when I need to process something.
Nice.
But going along with that, there's a Sirach verse in chapter 19 that really was, I think it's pretty funny. It's 19 verse 10. And it says, let anything you hear die with you. Never fear. It will not make you burst. And I just think that's just a little bit of humor for you today, for those listening, because I feel like that sometimes. I'm like, I have to talk about it. I have to talk about it.
I'm going to explode.
I'm going to literally, like, my curiosity of the situation and just for some reason need to tell it is just all boiling up inside me.
Yep.
And I'm like, I gotta tell someone. So
that's so funny.
Even the Bible is like, don't worry, you'll be okay. I promise you won't burst.
That is so great. For those listening that are looking through their Bible for the book of Sirach and you're not finding it, then you might not have a Catholic version of a Bible. That's one of those 7 books that's not included in the non-Catholic Bibles. But Sirach has such great wisdom in it. And really, it's about a father writing a letter to his son with all this great wisdom from the Lord. And if you listen to the Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in Your podcast, we actually got done with the book of Sirach just like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. So that was really great. But this idea that, listen, take a deep breath. Like, calm down. Do not let this be obsessive. Like, we get that way with gossip. We obsess about it and it dominates us. Like, we hear a piece of gossip and then what do? We usually go to our phone. Let's either post about it. Let's read about it. Let's whatever it is, text somebody about it. Let's Snapchat somebody about it, right? Or whatever it is. We just feel this need to continue the cycle of gossip. Yet the challenge is, let's end that cycle. Let's be the ones that bring a conclusion to it. Let it die with us, right? That's such great advice. Let it die with you.
Yeah, let it just fizzle out and become extinct. Because also just a lot of the books of wisdom talk about bridling the tongue. Same with James, the book of James. And I've noticed that's like, you're a fool if you're, it's a lot about fool versus the wise in the book of wisdom. Obviously wisdom wise. But that tends to, I don't know, that resonates with me because I'm like, oh, I'm such a fool. Like sometimes because I do not use my words wisely. And I just feel like that it definitely applies to gossip. And we have the little phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I feel like we need to do a little transformation on that term, that phrase.
Absolutely.
Because words they can be very hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And if your gossip leaks out, it's going to be very bad for you, for them. They're not, it can hurt, words can hurt relationships.
Absolutely.
Words can hurt. So just wanted to put that out there.
So check your gossip leakage, people.
Yeah. The amount of time on your phone.
Oh.
You can look at all the apps and all the batteries. Where's the little gossip scale on that,
Oh, that would be a good, wow.
Our phones already listen to us.
It's true.
Too much.
Just ask your phone. Hey Siri, how much gossip did I do today? I was also thinking real quick, I had a student tell me, I could not believe I heard the student say this, but they said, I thrive in drama.
Oh, that's, I feel like that applies to a lot of us today.
I mean, it was
generation.
Yeah. But it was like this, not only do I thrive, but I'm going to make sure you know that is my area.
Oh no.
I'm proud that this is what I thrive in.
It's like a fascination.
Yeah. So we have to be very careful. And we have to teach the younger people how to handle this. So I would just encourage everybody listening, check your drama, check your gossip. Let's all do that together. If we can start doing it, it makes an impact. It might not impact the entire world, but it will impact your world. I guarantee it. Mm-hmm. Right. So I know we went a little bit longer today, but I think it's time well spent. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to this as well. And I know we probably didn't hit on everything, and we apologize for that, but we did hit on what we know. And what we do know is gossip is not a Christian trait. So let's start to weave that out of our lives as best we can. Listen, if there's somebody that that needs to hear this message, share this with them. Share this on your platforms so that when people are scrolling through their social media, there's something beneficial to listen to. We appreciate it all. If you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. We will see you next time on Happy Hour.